Welcome to the 3G Fitness Podcast,
where three generations of trainers come together to discuss all things fitness related.
Join us as we share insights, tips, and stories from our diverse experiences as we unravel the secrets of staying fit.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 3G's Fitness Podcast, Three Generations of Fitness. I'm Coach Cisco.
Coach Michael.
And I'm Coach Kael.
And today, ladies and gentlemen, like the great Aaliyah said, age ain't nothing but a number. Or is it? Let's find out.
Dun, dun, dun.
So today we kind of want to talk about how each generation portrays being fit in 2025. And so we all have different generations right here. And we kind of want to just get started with, respect to the elder in the room.
Mm-hmm, the OG.
And the OG, who's approaching 70 years of age. And kind of let us know, how does a boomer in 2025 portray being fit?
Well, to me, a boomer will perceive himself as fit if he can wake up in the morning and not feel sore, not feel, hard to take that next step. He can get out and he can walk his dog or walk around the neighborhood, ride a bike, go to the gym, get on the treadmill, be able to walk and be able to do a nice pace. And then also be able to walk around the gym and work out, doing certain exercises that will help his mobility, help his balance. Because the biggest problem with the boomers nowadays, right now, is balance. Because how many boomers do you know have fell, have tripped, or have bumped their heads, just by walking? So a boomer will feel fit if he can be able to get through the day on a normal pace and go to work out and have no problem with it. Eat a good meal, be able to digest it well. It's completely different when you go to the next generation of millennial or to Gen Z. We're not looking to get big. We're not looking to get strong and yoked. We're looking to just be able to function through the day.
Okay, good. I'm glad that you hit the word function.
Yeah.
I think another thing too that I've come across with boomers is a lot of it is the doctor visits, what the doctor is telling me. I get a lot of my clients coming in, post heart problems, post bone problems and stuff like that. So when it comes
cholesterol, diabetes, all this stuff.
So their concerns is a lot more what, like, going to the doctor visit. They want to make sure a doctor visit is better. And so, and then, but when it comes to like training them, it's one of those things where you nailed it. Balance to me is super important.
Very important.
But I feel like we can get to different levels of it. I know you have worked with several boomers of that age group and experiencing them with balance and strength. I mean, what are some of the common things that you see with them when you're working with them?
In terms of balance? Or
Yeah. Balance and strength.
I mean, it's at the end of the day, I feel like it's just leg strength, So functional training for sure is more important for any beginner, for sure. But if you're in the older category, then just your basic movements will get you going throughout the day, for sure.
And then you, Mike, you being a boomer, but you also working with everybody else from all age groups, do you find yourself kind of like limiting boomers to a certain extent on, based on what you see, or do you find them to kind of overcome certain obstacles and whenever they want to do something?
I take a concern when I work with a boomer, somebody that's close to my age or older. Yeah, I worry. Because I understand. I understand what it's like to be able to function, on a normal basis. Because when you get older, your reactions get slower. Your movements get slower. You lose muscle. You don't gain muscle. When you become a boomer, you don't gain it. You lose muscle. No matter how much protein, no matter how much vitamins you take, or you lose muscle. And when you start losing muscle, then you start weakening. And so when you're in the gym, heavy weight is something that's half of what you guys would use or you would use in the gym. In other words, what you would work with in the gym, a boomer wouldn't really be able to do that. Okay? Yeah, they wouldn't. Because, for instance, you go on the bench press and you do 225 pounds.
Okay,
Tell me a boomer besides me.
I think
will even try to attempt that.
weight is relative to the individual.
No, it's not. It's not, because you go on the bench and you do 225 pounds. You think a person that's like 65 that never really worked out that much, but is starting to at that age, can go in there and just knock up that much weight.
But there are also powerlifters at that age that also lift way heavier.
Are there?
There are. What?
I've powerlifted for a long time. Okay,
there are guys.
Every comp I've been in, I've never had anybody in my age bracket. Never.
It's because you go to smaller competitions.
Just because you don't experience that doesn't mean they're not out there in the world.
They're out there, but they're not.
Strength is relative. Strength is relative.
They're not, common. Okay,
I'll give you that one.
Now we're talking about the common baby boomer that just comes into the gym and is just learning to work out and just starting to work out with certain exercises and things. You're not going to get someone that's going to come in, for instance, with Cisco, he does 245 pounds on the bench. You not need a boomer to come in there and do that. That hasn't really worked out in his lifetime.
Okay,
it's not going to do that. It's not going to happen
if they don't have
because
the prior
you have to build to get to that point. Am I right or wrong? You just didn't all of a sudden get in there and start boom, hit it.
No, I did.
I'm
just kidding.
You had to work. You had to work your way up.
Yeah, but I feel like that's how do I say this? I think so. We're talking about people that are just getting started, anyways, right? So let me ask you this then: you have a boomer, let's just say 65 years old. I'll put a millennial there who's maybe 35 years old. They both never work out. They're both stepping foot into the gym at the same time. Both have the same stats. It's just they're both 5'10", 180 pounds. And you mean to tell me that you wouldn't train them like you would be easier on the 65-year-old than on the 35-year-old?
Yes, I would be.
And they're both coming in same stats.
I would be. Because
I don't think you can do that. I don't agree with that. By the way, I was going to say
his youth, the
youth,
the younger guy, his youth is going to get him through that. Being younger,
I think you can't treat all 65-year-olds the same. Because each individual person has their own specific capability, so you can't treat all of them all the same.
I didn't say I treated them the same. I said I would treat the boomer differently.
Yeah.
Than I would the younger guy. I would work harder with the younger guy and build him up quicker because his muscles will grow quicker than a boomer. A boomer has probably reached his peak as his muscle growth.
Yeah, maybe the process is slower, but I think the approach stays the same. I think the approach stays the same.
If I can't strengthen his muscle strength, then putting them on heavier weight, making them go heavier would be harder for him.
No, you make sure that you're doing it within his capable limits.
Yeah.
Reasonable limits.
Right. But
it might be a little bit slower for an older person. It might be a little bit slower for an older person, but the approach stays the same.
Just go ask, would I train a boomer the same as I would train a person that is a millennial? Yeah. Basically is what you said, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't. So Kael is saying he would approach them the same, but just it sounds like you would be relative to where they're at.
The same thing I'm saying. I would approach them, I could train them with the same exercise, but I would just have to do it at a much lighter weight.
Yeah.
So I'm not really training them the same. Okay. Because his workout is going to be harder because he's doing heavier weight. My boomer's workout is not going to be as hard because I'm training him with lighter weight, so I'm be able to go with higher reps than I would with a millennial.
But to that person, that could be hard.
The what?
Hard. The whole things being hard is relative to the person.
Yeah, but you have to be careful when you're training a boomer because you don't know what
there definitely is a higher risk.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's and that's why I would train them. I train them differently. I wouldn't train a person that is 72 years old the same as I would train a person that's 30 years old. I just wouldn't do it. I wouldn't train them with exactly the same, almost the same exercise, but not exactly the same exercises. Because I think there are some exercises that a boomer does that are a little bit more difficult than a millennial person would do.
Okay, so let's say you had someone who's like maybe a 25-year-old, and then you had someone who was 65-year-old. For the 65-year-old, you put them on a bench, or you put both of them on a bench. You wouldn't put the 65-year-old under a plate on each side, but you would for a 25?
No, I wouldn't put them. I wouldn't put them on a plate on each side because, first of all, I don't know if a plate on each side is physically, if he's physically able to do.
For which one? For which client?
For the boomer, I would put a much lighter weight just to see how many reps he can do within that.
You would do the same thing for the 25-year-old, though, right?
How high to take him up, but I know he wouldn't be able to go as high as the millennial.
But wouldn't you do the same for the 25-year-old? You wouldn't just throw him
I would start him off heavier. A little heavier.
You wouldn't figure out what they're capable of. Hold on, wait. You wouldn't figure out what they're capable of first? Exactly like how you treat your 65-year-old?
Well, I think putting lighter weight on them and have them just rep it out is kind of like a waste.
Your job as a trainer is to figure out what they're capable of first before you start pushing them.
I would determine by the weight that I would put on there based on his age. That's what I would do. I would look at a millennial that's 30 years old, and I would look at a guy, a boomer that's like 67 years old, and I would probably start the boomer, the millennial, with a plate.
Okay, let's make it even simpler. Because I think both of you guys are saying the same thing, just speaking different languages. I would probably say this. All right, you have a 65-year-old and a 25-year-old. Mm-hmm. If you want to just figure out how they're pushing, stability is and their pushing strength is, let's say you put both of them to do a push-up test. Would you make both of them do the exact same push-ups? Would you make both of them go to the floor and do push-ups on their feet?
I would make them do a push-up correctly.
Okay, but would you make them, so you would make the 65-year-old do push-ups on the floor the same way you would make a 25-year-old do push-ups on the floor?
Yeah, and I would make him touch his chest.
Yeah. And then based off of how they perform, will give you an idea of how you're going to maneuver.
And I would look
right,
at
Mike?
it, and if he can't do it,
God dang it.
then I'm going to have a question.
Mike just overtalks.
Yeah, because he knows that I'm right. So he's trying to.
So you guys are, right. It's one of those where.
If you're going to make someone do push-ups, if you're going to make both of them do push-ups, you figure out how both of them perform. And then from there, that's when you figure out, okay, maybe my older guy, he can't do a push-up. So you regress as you need to.
So I would go lighter weight for him to work out with. But I wouldn't.
But the approach was the same.
To be honest with you, hey, if I had a boomer and I had a millennial, I wouldn't start them off on the same weight.
Yeah,
no, you don't.
And that's my point of what I'm saying. They may do the same exercise, but they're not going to do the same weight. Okay,
it's based on the individual's capabilities.
You would literally just pretty much okay. You would you're using different words, and I think you're understanding differently. You guys are literally talking about the same thing. It's just you don't understand that he's talking about regressing. But he's actually thinking he is approaching it the same way. He's just saying, I train different.
Yeah.
That's why you're saying you approach a 65-year-old the same way you approach a 25-year-old. You just say, I train differently. And that's what kind of I think is the trigger point right here where we're like, wait a minute. But you approach them the same. Your approach is the same. You just do a different type of regression.
Well, I think you approach every client the same way. Because you want to determine what they can do.
The fundamentals, yes.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, see, you do the six fundamental
We're not
movements.
talking about how you approach a person when you're going to train them. You obviously you're going to approach them and talk about what they could do. But my point is that I think a boomer is different than a millennial. That's what I'm saying. So just because bench press, they're the same. Okay, they do the same. Okay, but now we're talking about the weight. How do you determine the weight? Mm-hmm. You say by push-ups. You can do it by pull-ups. You can determine the weight by anything that you do. But my point is that I wouldn't go to a boomer and expect his expectations to be high on lifting heavy. Okay, so I would train them differently than I would a millennial. I would go lighter reps probably with a boomer, and I'd probably go medium,
heavy
moderate
Yeah.
weight with the with lesser.
But I think that's why assessments
So
are.
that's different.
I think that's why assessments are important because we don't know truly what
No,
a person's
you
capable of.
have
Hold
to
on,
assess
God damn.
everybody.
Hold on. You don't know
Let
a
Kael finish
person's
the
true capabilities until you assess them. Is that
Isn't that the
not
first
right?
thing you learn in training?
Exactly.
Is assessment. You assess everybody you
Yes,
train. We're
yes,
not
exactly.
We're talking
That's
about
why. So,
would you train
what
them
if
differently?
what if a 65-year-old came in and he can like rack up, like just bench 2 plates like nothing? But in your eyes, you're like, oh wait, but he's 65. Maybe he shouldn't be able to.
No. You said you sat there and you said you have to determine what a person can do.
Exactly. But you
Okay?
said you wouldn't
That's
put
when
them
you will
through
make your
heavyweight.
decision. But we're basing it off the average boomer and the average millennial. That's what we're not basing it on someone that okay, you get me in there and you rack up you put on the cable set and I do 180 pounds on pull downs. You're gonna look at me, you're gonna say, man, this guy could live. I'm not the average person. My point.
Yeah,
I'm talking
you're
the
not.
average person.
Okay, let's piggyback again on the same.
Why are we
scenario.
not including the
No,
non-average
you can't
people?
include. Okay, so you're gonna include me,
Yeah.
for instance, right? Okay, and then you're gonna get another boomer that next to me, and you're gonna compare us. Come on, you can't do that. All right,
literally
you
being
have
like-
to have your own assessment of that
Mike
average.
just feels insulted.
You
that
have to have
No.
that. You have to have your own
As a
assessment
trainer,
off
we
that,
take on
off the
all types of
average
people.
Boomer.
As a trainer, we take on all types of people.
No,
So why
the
are we just not
average
going to
boomer.
include?
You got to
What?
assess off the average boomer is what I'm saying. The guy that's come from his doctor to you, or come from not even working out before to you. Okay, you can't sit there and say all 65, 68-year-old boomers are the same.
That's what I was saying that you were
It's an
saying.
you're doing
I was
an
saying that
assessment.
no,
I
you
get
shouldn't do that.
Okay, but we're talking the average person.
Oh my goodness.
I think this went off the rails. It's pretty hilarious.
I think we've had similar episodes like this where we just go back in a circle of like we're really talking about the
We're
same
going
thing.
off the average.
But it's
Okay.
definitely how you say things.
It's definitely well, yeah. It's how Mike. We know where you're coming from. I think I get what you're saying now. And it's one of those things where you got to look at it. A boomer in 2025 is roughly in their mid 60s and up. So yes, when we're considering what's fit for a boomer, is maybe for them to live a functional lifestyle without being in pain.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
That's it.
Agreed.
That's how we got boomers. All right.
Yeah.
Then let's take
Yeah.
it down, and we're gonna skip Gen X because we don't have no Gen X representatives up here. They're probably out rebelling or something like that. So then the next generation, which I can speak on, is the millennial, what we would consider fit now.
Gen Y.
Yeah. So millennials today, I think, is going to be more of a different age because in 2025 we're probably between 30 and 45 years old, roughly around that. So I think what I consider being in shape right now as a millennial and fit is pretty much just like being able to almost just move around without pain. And not just that, it's like to be preventing diseases that I think would be probably caused by being unhealthy. We've had so many guests on here tell us what lifestyles, like choices will lead to if we're not exercising, we're not eating healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think my form of a millennial being fit right now is someone that is probably active at the gym 3 times a week and making sure they're active at least 2 times with some outdoors activity throughout the week. And just something like that is what I would consider being active more for a millennial. Not much of a balance thing or anything like that, but that's what I would consider someone being fit more. I wouldn't approach them any different than I would approach a boomer.
Mm-hmm.
I would still assess both of them equally the same.
Mm-hmm.
I would assess them the same, figure out where their limits are, find out where their opportunities are, and then take it from there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those where, going to what Mike says, I agree that you do lose your reflexes. You do lose your balance. So a lot of things do deteriorate as you get older. And that's one of the things that you got to remember. But I wouldn't approach them any differently. I would just probably look at a workout and either do I a millennial's probably going to go through more progressions in a workout than a boomer. But the goal is to eventually progress the boomer up as well too. Kind of get what I'm saying?
Well, my point is you assess everybody you train.
Yes.
Okay.
All of a sudden.
No.
Son, I was saying that earlier. I kept saying that from the jump, Mike.
And I never denied that. I never said no. You assess everybody. That's what's one of the first things you learn as a trainer. You have to assess everybody.
Yes.
You have to. Okay.
Exactly.
But my point is that I think when you assess a boomer and you assess a millennial or a Gen X, I think it's different. You can't assess them to me the same.
Whoa.
Not to me.
Well, how would you?
You can look at him all you want. I'm telling you.
How would you assess them differently?
As far as
a boomer,
taking them in?
Yeah. A boomer, like if you got a boomer, if you got a 65-year-old coming into you the first time.
See, now you're talking about, okay, you assess them the same by doing the same exercises and doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily true. You assess, to me, when you get a boomer, you assess them on more of a aerobic type of assessment. Not on, you go in the gym and you tell them, hey, lift this and, let me see what you would do with this. With a boomer and you're at 65, you want to know what his coordination's like. You want to know what his movement's like. So you'll do a lot of things like you could do the battle rope. You can walk up and down, walking up and down with the military weights and stuff and keeping your balance.
You do this to a 65-year-old?
Mike, how are you going to say that the approach stays the same and then you say that it's not?
Mine. So I wanted to know what he could do before I put him in the weight.
Okay, let me ask you this. An assessment to me is literally just seeing where their starting points are at. So if I see a millennial and I want to see their squat assessment, I'm just going to have them squat.
You should have them squat.
Squat. Now, if I have a boomer who's 65 years old, maybe a little bit more fragile, I put a box, sit down, stand up.
It's an assessment.
It's an assessment. It's the same approach.
You just don't assess them the same way, is my point. You assess a guy that can do a squat, you do it based it on his squat. Yeah. And see, you assess a millennial by basing it on a step up.
Yeah.
Okay, they're both assessments, I understand, but they're different exercises, is my point.
Yeah.
So when you assess a boomer, you're assessing him doing something differently, not doing the same.
So you wouldn't assess a boomer with a step up?
I would not put a boomer, if I had a 65-year-old guy who I knew nothing about, I wouldn't have him do a squat with the on his back. I wouldn't have him do that. Because I don't know if his balance is right. I don't know if his movement is right.
That's why you regress the movement.
My assessment would be different. It would be more
on a cardio base?
Yeah, it will, because it tells me his balance. It tells me how he moves. Because when you have a boomer, you don't know his physical abilities. And I think when you have a millennial, you have an idea what a millennial could do. A person in the 30s that, he probably knows how to lift weights because he's probably lifted before, and he probably has an understanding of it. But to me, when you get a boomer, he might have lifted weights 40, 50 years ago and is now starting to lift weights now. So why would I want to put him in weights before I even know if he can even keep his balance? And if he tells me, oh, this was wrong with me, because the boomer's going to have a lot more wrong with him than a millennial. And he tells you, oh, well, I had a knee replacement. No,
wait, so you said you would assume,
or I had a shoulder replacement.
You would assume that the younger person.
Wait a minute, you wouldn't be concerned with that?
So you would assume that the younger person.
If a boomer told you that, you wouldn't be concerned with that?
So you would assume that a younger person knows how to move better and be athletic and all that? I thought we were talking about average Joes.
Oh, I think a younger person does know how to move better. Does know how to be as much stronger.
An average person. I thought we were talking about the average.
The average person, a 30-year-old man versus a 65-year-old man, I believe he will be able to move better.
I thought we were talking about average
Joes. I wouldn't be worried about him being able to do a step up or being able him to do the battle rope or any of that. I wouldn't be concerned with that. But I would be concerned with a boomer if he knew how to do that, if he's able to do that, if he's in the shape to do that.
Your concerns are valid. I just think, like I said, there's a different point. A millennial can step up Let's put 12 inches, step up 12 inches. A boomer, all right, let's just go half. Let's have them step up on 6 inches. And that could still be, you're still doing the same approach, but you're regressing one exercise and the other.
Minute.
I do step ups with
No,
boomer.
I'm talking about if you had a millennial, you would probably take them right into the gym and work them out in the weight room.
No.
Is that right?
No, you assess them
you
first.
would make them do a step up. You would make them do what I'm saying.
Assessments. You approach each client the same.
Yes, but you just got to figure out, like I said, that's why I said a push-up, the same thing. If I have a millennial, I'll probably have them try a push-up on the floor. But if I have a boomer, all right, let's try a push-up against the wall. We're still assessing the same movement, just one is more regressed. Now, if I could tell from there, all right, you're starting right here. All right, maybe we could do it on the floor. All right, maybe just do it on your knees instead of your toes or anything like that. So I think it's like I said, we're trying to kind of get an idea of like, you don't even bother to look into the approaches that way just because they're a boomer.
Yeah, I don't look at I don't look at them in the weight room when I have a boomer. I don't. I don't put them in the weight room, when they first come in. I never have. I want to know what their balance is. I want to know what kind of range of motion they have. I want to know all those things first with a boomer. I want to know. Okay, and in an assessment, they could be the same. That you could do the same with a millennial at the same way. But I'm talking about a boomer. How would I handle a boomer? That way.
Interesting.
Not in the weight room.
All right, so we're gonna wrap it up because I like this. I like how you're obviously, and it's to me it fascinates me, and I'm gonna wrap it up real quick because I know we're running low on time and Felix gotta go eat, and so but I like that you're one of a boomer. You are a boomer. You are very cautious with them. If I feel I'm getting the vibe that you are very cautious with them. That's really
I've
how
always
it is.
been.
Where I
not
feel
always, but
yeah. But now that you are, so in a way, I gotta respect
as you
that.
should though. I gotta respect that
for
sure.
And we are cautious too.
Yeah,
we are cautious too. That's why, like I
1000%.
said, I would probably have a younger person do step ups off 12 inches, while I'll probably have a boomer go maybe off of 6 inches. So but we kind of all have our different approaches. And we've all have different successes. You have an amazing client. I know she's up there in age. She crushes it. I have a lot of clients over the age of 50 and they're crushing it. Mm-hmm. I know you yourself, you're over the age of 50. You're crushing it yourself and you are working with people over 50. So to me, it's at the end of this whole topic, what I'm kind of getting at, it's like, it's very fascinating how we all have somewhat different yet similar approaches. At the end of the day, we're all still getting results with our clients. I look at so I'm like, you're getting your results.
Yeah.
You're getting your results with your clients. I'm getting my results with my clients. So what I'm trying to get at, folks, is different folks, different strokes.
Yeah. But I'm also just saying that you can't assume what people are capable of.
Exactly.
So
the assumption.
It's an assessment, and I never said that assessments weren't necessary.
And so
that's the first thing you learn as a trainer.
Yeah. And this is one thing that I would, like I said, you're of that age. You're going to assume someone closer to your age. That's just how it is. The same thing. I think if we were to train someone closer to our age, like naturally, we're probably going to assume a little bit more for someone closer to our age. So that's why I'm not going to disagree with you. And so I think yours is valid. Like I said,
I'm just a technical guy. So whenever you say something, that's like, wait a minute, there's something wrong about what you said.
I never said.
I have to say my piece.
Assessments are different.
But it's one of those.
Everybody needs an assessment. That's how you determine.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that it's determined differently when it comes to a boomer, to a millennial, to a Gen Z.
Yes.
That's what I think.
And I'm not going to disagree with you there. And like I said, you guys can kind of like overhear what we were all talking about. Leave a comment on what you guys think. Let us know. Is one approach better than the other? Do we approach them the same? Do we regress certain workouts? Do we progress certain workouts? Hey, we're all open. Criticism is always accepted over here. And we'll take it happily. So once again, like, comment, subscribe. I'm Coach Cisco.
Coach Michael.
Coach Kael.
I'll catch you on the next episode.